Planet of the Apes 2 has aged worse than the first. So I just uploaded a video about how the first Planet of the Apes movie didn't age well. Go check it out. The video was received amazingly.
This guy probably likes the new Star Wars movies the best. Worse. New Star Trek. So, you disrespect Franklin J. Schaffner, Rod Sterling, Charlton Heston, and Jerry Goldsmith in a single movie review? You got balls, I'll give you that. I will say though, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about the rest of the series. I'll subscribe to this. Carry on. Cheers.
And I promised I'd make a video on the second one, so here I am. It's only been a couple of months. Beneath the Planet of the Apes is the second movie in the original line of Planet of the Apes movies. It was released in... wait, when the fuck was it released? 1970. God damn, this movie's old. This shit's as old as my father. Despite the year difference between the first one and this one, it's somehow worse than the first one in literally almost every way possible. The movie begins from the end of the first movie. I'm assuming because of the lack of streaming services, this was to serve as a reminder. Honestly though, this kinda sucks because of the situation I'm in, where I'm a 22-year-old watching the movie in 2024. But I know I can't use this as a proper point against the movie. I just thought I should mention that this kinda shows the age a lot just from the very jump. I'm not sure if this was like a thing back then, but I know that in the Star Wars movies they didn't really do this, although those are a little bit younger. The movie introduces us to this guy, Old Taylor. Put a pin in Old Taylor. I'll explain that later. Old Taylor is out exploring with his girl, Nova, when he finds a bunch of strange occurrences. The beginning is mostly just him riding a horse again, which, if you watch the first video, you know I wasn't really a big fan of this whole riding around on a horse with nothing but music and ambience. But they're way less prominent in this movie, so it's not a huge gripe of mine. Old Taylor gets sucked into a weird, fiery, big rock wall, and then Nova starts tweaking. The visual effects kind of suck, but like, it's 1970. I can't really hold it against them. It cuts to a new pair of astronauts that have crash landed. I don't remember this guy's name, so to bring back the pin from earlier, I'm going to call this guy Old Taylor and this guy New Taylor because they look almost identical. Please remember this, I will never explain it again. New Taylor explains some sci-fi mumbo jumbo that's just as bad as the first movie's sci-fi mumbo jumbo and says he followed Old Taylor's flight path. Whatever that means. His partner dies and he buries him. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Nova pulls up. New Taylor tries to talk to her, but it just doesn't work, which was kind of a really dumb scene. He can tell she doesn't understand what's going on, but this seemingly smart guy...
Where are we? We passed through a S-line curve, a bend in time.
Can't seem to fathom that she doesn't speak any language, let alone English. I want to take a pause not even 10 minutes into the movie as well. Why the hell did no one understand the idea of a primitive human not understanding language? And why does it somehow work? Zira tested on these people for a very long time and never saw any signs of learning or speaking, and yet meeting one smart human has made Nova understand him. Old Taylor tried to talk to her in the beginning of this movie and somehow she understood. He told her to find Zira and Cornelius. So after finding New Taylor, she does just that? How? How does that make any sense? Isn't she supposed to be the equivalent of what we have as apes today? The smartest thing I've ever seen an ape do is point at a book bag nonchalantly. New Taylor sees that Nova has a dog tag on her, which has Old Taylor's name on it. He asks where Old Taylor is and she starts tweaking again before he just hops on the horse and rides wherever she takes him, which just so happens to be fucking Ape City. Okay, sure. Whatever. New Taylor finds the apes having a meeting. The gorillas specifically taking charge. They mention invading the Forbidden Zone where no one can live because they fear humans might live there. I don't really get where this came from. It seems like a huge jump from the first movie. They don't really explain how the gorillas even came to the conclusion that something might be living in the Forbidden Zone. In my last video, I mentioned that the masks for the background apes get worse, and this scene is a perfect depiction of that. You can tell most of the masks in the background are just that, masks. There aren't any makeup effects like there were in the first movie. It's fine and definitely doesn't make the actual makeup effects worse, but it isn't as great as the first movie's was. Also, Cornelius, this guy, looks odd in this movie. He doesn't ever really look this weird again. I don't know why, but it was super noticeable the entire time. I also want to bring to attention that the beginning of this movie handles pacing way better than the beginning of the first movie. While it's still very boring throughout the rest of it, it gets the story started very early on. Everything I mentioned hasn't even been 20 minutes into the movie, including the recap at the beginning and the few minutes of Old Taylor riding a horse. In the ape assembly, they show that Zira and Cornelius are in attendance, both of which seem to be very against this since they know the proper truth and not not whatever Zaius, this guy, propagates. He's here too, actually, and he seems a bit off. Actually, he seems off in this entire movie. I'm gonna assume something different happened in the writing room, or that he's just supposed to seem against the idea of invading the Forbidden Zone, but later scenes kind of put that theory to rest. Story-wise though, it makes sense why Zira and Cornelius are against all of this. Zira actually does the ape equivalent of kneeling during the national anthem.
Zira, stop, you're in danger.
So is the future of science, with that rabble-rouser fomenting a senseless military adventure.
The couple go home and have fun conversations, like actually fun to listen to. I love hearing them talk to each other in all of these movies.
I think I'll make a chocolate icing. Do you like chocolate?
What the?
No, of course you don't. But I do.
The writers seem to know what they're doing with these guys and just generally have fun writing for them. In the conversations though, they bring up the subtle racism towards other apes, mentioning how the gorillas are stupid and chimpanzees are goated. They say those exact words. You don't need to watch the movie, trust me. However, after watching all of the movies, this amounts to something in the 5th movie, which honestly didn't need this build-up, so I don't know what they were doing. Of course, the white man comes to ruin all the good conversations.
Taylor?
That's what I'm saying! They recognize Nova instantly and talk to New Taylor about Old Taylor and how they met him, but their conversation is interrupted by a knock at the door. Zaius is there. They hide Nova and New Taylor, and instead of putting her washcloth down, Zira puts it on her face, like she has some sort of wound. Zaius has come to scold the pair for their behavior during the assembly thingy, and this is where the age of the movie really shows. Zaius asks why Zira has a washcloth on her face, and she says Cornelius hit her for acting up, and Zaius, the Giga Chad, responds,
I don't blame him.
I'm not sure how normalized hitting your wife was in the 70s, but it honestly just pushes the age of the movie even more into the forefront because holy shit, I died laughing while watching this scene. I wonder how the commentators are going to defend this one. So, the writers, Pierre Boulle, Mort Abrahams, and Paul Den. I'd like to bring to attention their names because a lot of people got upset at me because I didn't say the people's names when I would refer to them, mostly because I was kind of not saying nice things, so why would I want to bring up people when saying not nice things? But the writers use this time of talking not to further develop the individual characters like the brand new guy they just introduced, but rather to reiterate everything we know. Zira is very against everything Zaius stands for, and Cornelius is making her give in. He even threatens to hit her again, even though he never hit her. And now Zaius says there's no need for violence. He tells them that they're going to invade the Forbidden Zone no matter what they say, and if they can't return, it's up to Cornelius and Zira to keep the ideals of the apes alive. Kind of a big burden to put on people who literally want nothing to do with your weird ass lives. Bad writing. He leaves, so the pair give New Taylor some clothes to fit in with the primitive humans and tell him not to speak. As he leaves, they ask him to find Old Taylor. I think Zira is still feeling some type of way after she got kissed. After this is one of the several boring ass chase scenes in this movie. These movies don't do chase scenes well. He's spotted with Nova by some gorillas for a couple of minutes before being put into a cage with her. It's here you're shown exactly what they do with humans that they just don't immediately kill or use for science. It's fine world building, but the first movie could have definitely used this instead of this one, especially because of the ending. Nova and New Taylor are taken into where Zira tests on humans, where Old Taylor was in the first movie and the cage is surrounded by the primitive humans. She tries to save them, but the gorillas say they're to be used for target practice. She goes with them and watches as they're put inside of a cage connected to a horse and carriage. She asks for the key to the carriage and says she's going to double lock the cage, but unlocks it for New Taylor to escape as it's riding. And he does just that. He's able to escape alongside Nova, fucking killing a guy before another chase scene ensues. It's a lot shorter than the previous movie's chase scenes, so I'm a little grateful, but goddamn, this is so much unnecessary tension fluff. It's not even tense really, it's just them being chased. And you already know what's gonna happen. They're either gonna find something new that's like plot related, or they're gonna end up getting stuck somewhere else. This time though, they find a hole in the ground that leads to some sort of underground cavern. The walls are tiled, which made me instantly know where they were. The New York City Metro. Let's hope some dude with a phone and a mic doesn't run up to them to ask them to trade phones or some shit, bro. New Taylor finds a payphone and then finds tile art that says Queensboro Plaza. Looks exactly the same, to be honest. I can't even tell that this is a post-apocalyptic world. I don't know why he starts tripping. This is where New Taylor finds out that he's actually been back on Earth the entire time. A whopping hour and a half shorter than it took Old Taylor to find out. But I guess since we already knew that, it wasn't as big of a plotline. It's kind of funny though. After seeing the tile walls, subway tracks, payphone, big Queensboro Plaza sign, it took him seeing the Summer Festival sign to realize he's where he came from. He says he grew up here. I should have known this fucking bozo's from Queens. He has that fucking little suburban kid look, like Lil Yachty. The apes are marching towards the Forbidden Zone but are stopped by a protest. I think this is supposed to be a reference to the old civil rights protests, but it's done pretty poorly. The civil rights references were way more subtle in the first movie and served to better whatever underlying theme that movie had, which honestly, kind of my fault for not pointing that out in the video, because I knew that before I made the video. I just didn't think about it when writing it. This movie doesn't have an underlying theme. Like, everything after this point is some weird ass sci-fi shit. I don't know why they added all of this. I know I said earlier that this movie is faster and better paced than the previous movie, but by no means does that mean it's well paced. It's a little all over the place. The beginning was well paced. It introduced you to a new character while showing you what's going on since the last movie, but now it's moving at a snail's pace. 2 chase scenes, lots of filler talking about the same shit we already know. Like, we know that Zaius hates humans. We know they're going to march onto the Forbidden Zone and that Cornelius and Zira hate all of it. We could have used this time to flesh out New Taylor as a character. He got introduced and I know nothing about this dude. New Taylor is a good point to bring up now too. Right now, he just seems like protagonist and that's it. He has no nuance to him. He's just finding shit out and reacting. I mean, I didn't like old Taylor too much, but at least he had shit to say and things to do. He had a stoic side about him. New Taylor just keeps saying he needs to get back home and that everything is insane. It's a really boring character. And having a character that literally doesn't speak and barely reacts with him is not helping. What is Nova in this movie for besides, spoiler alert, to die later on and give old Taylor his reasoning for what he does? It's really stupid. Oh, she's also there because it's like something for guys to ogle at. Him and Nova walk through the subways and get to East 51st Street, which according to Google Maps would take around 45 minutes, give or take, and he either went to Manhattan or stayed in Queens. I don't know if that's relevant, but it's fun to think about. He's really thirsty and finds a fountain with water, but he spits it out immediately after drinking it. I think it's supposed to be either really dirty or just straight up piss. The fountain starts actually like letting water out, and he tries that water. He drank that shit like it was the best water ever, and from what I remember from New York City, it is not the best water ever. Good luck with the lead poisoning, New Taylor. Nova starts drinking it too, but he gets a sudden urge to drown her. Me too, man. Me too. Maybe next time I'll blame the water. This doesn't make much sense to me though, because in the first movie they already established that these primitive humans don't take too kindly to being hurt. I don't know if she's somehow been tamed, but it's contradictory to what they tell you. The pair of humans start hearing a loud humming sound. He follows it and sees a metal ladder that leads up to a tunnel. When he touches the ladder, the humming stops. When he lets go, it continues. I don't know what this is supposed to be, besides just a weird sci-fi trippy thing. I'm not really comprehending why it does this, and it never explains this either. It's not even cool. Like a lot of other sci-fi things in sci-fi movies, they tend to just kind of be cool and there, and we just take it because it's cool. New Taylor climbs the ladder and finds a guy worshipping a bomb. The guy speaks to New Taylor telepathically and is also wearing a weird condom on his head, so I shall dub him and anyone in his same attire condom heads. Please remember this, I will not explain this later. Every time he talks to him telepathically, there's a little beep sound effect. That's a neat idea. New Taylor's escorted into a room full of condom heads who ask him questions about himself. They claim he's a spy for the Apes. The plot just gets absolutely bonkers from here on out, and I hate it. He tells the condom heads his name is
Brent.
New Taylor, and that he's looking for Old Taylor. While he's speaking, they project Old Taylor holographically above him. It's like putting a YouTube video on while eating or listening to someone talk, so they kind of predicted brain rot.
Welcome to the ultimate brain rot test.
This guy looks funny. He's super into this role. Same with the black guy. Speaking of him, the black guy starts torturing New Taylor's brain somehow because he won't answer who Nova is. He tells him that she helped him break out of Ape City, and they freak out hearing this. They start talking to him all at once telepathically, but he tweaks from the stimulation. So one of the condom heads says they should just speak normally because he can't handle it, even though all they had to do was speak to him one at a time like they were doing before. They only speak verbally when they pray, apparently. It's odd world building. But if I had to take a page from this commenter's book and use my imagination, I'd have to say it's because their religion tells them to verbally pray so they continue the tradition. But if you rely on your watchers to finish your story and fill in your plot lines, and the plot sucks. Sorry. Not everything needs to be explained, but certain things like this should be explained, even if it's only brief. I don't really understand the underlying theme they're trying to push here. I also don't really understand why this fucking ringing sound they use to torment him also torments me, bro. Like, my ears started to bleed because of it. The very advanced humans are scared of the not very advanced apes from Ape City for some reason. They keep asking him to tell them what the apes were doing, even though they can read his fucking mind. This is just bad writing. They bring in Nova to torture her, so they control him to harm her with that same fucking ringing sound again. Are you kidding me? I also think they're making him rape her? What? I'm not entirely aware, but this is weird now, bro. I don't know what the fuck you guys were doing in the 70s, but I'm glad I was born 30 years later. He says he doesn't know, and somehow they know he's lying, but can't find the truth. He finally tells them that the apes are going there right now to invade their place. I don't know why he was hiding this in the first place. Like, he has no alliance to the apes. I don't know if you can tell, but the writing for everything here is just really bad. I keep saying I don't know and I don't understand because I genuinely don't, and the movie makes no attempt to explain any of this. It just keeps writing weird shit. It makes no sense, and I know my story comprehension can't be that bad. To be honest, the way I'm retelling this movie doesn't really do it justice for how fucking boring it is. It's just a bunch of pointless talking and padding the runtime. The movie cuts to the apes marching on the land of the condom heads. They run across another illusion, seeing apes hung from crosses doing upside down T-poses surrounded by fire. It scares the shit out of the apes, understandably so. The statue of their god, I think, starts bleeding from the eyes. It's a pretty cool looking shot, although I think if this was done with any other real life god, this would be literal blasphemy. So I can't tell you if this is a shot taken at religion or just a story they really wanted to tell. Zeus, with the gorilla army for some reason, realizes this can't be real. So he rides straight into Fire Green Screen HD by All Design Creative from 9 years ago. The statue of their god falls on him, but he's alive! Damn. Side note, you can hear how muffled their speaking sounds in this movie much more than the last movie.
You've found the advance.
The apes continue their march onto the Condom Heads' underground city. They find the ruins of New York City and it cuts to the Condom Heads in church. While they're praying, they start peeling their fucking skin off and reveal some disgusting inner workings, bruh. It's like filthy. I hated this scene. The Condom Heads say they won't set New Taylor free, so they start taking him to prison. Another side note, the set design for this movie is really cool. Like this part specifically. It's obviously supposed to be the underground subway of New York City, but they put care into showing the Condom Heads have remodeled this a few times. There's peeling tiles, painted over tiles, tunnel walkways. It's all really great. I actually really love it. They put New Taylor into the same cage as Old Taylor, and they recognize one another. The Condom Heads keep going on and on about how they're peaceful and they don't kill their enemies. Instead, they get their enemies to kill one another. But they must understand the flaw with this. Like, that's so stupid. And they aren't stupid. Obviously, I think. They're supposed to be advanced humans, yet the only advancement is their weird, inconsistent ass telekinesis. The Black Condom Head forces New Taylor and Old Taylor to fight a very boring fight. For a while, too. There's no music, barely any dialogue. It's just them fighting. Old Taylor does a fucking flying kick and they reuse the same audio twice in a row, which sounded funny. But besides that, the choreography sucks ass. Nova finally finds him and worriedly she shouts Taylor's name. I say it like that because it sounds more like, well, I'll just let you listen. It surprises the Condom Head, which makes sense. That just sounded scary. And the two Taylors use it as an opportunity to strike and kill him. As he dies, he takes off his mask, which is a nice little attention to detail since they did that when they were praying to their god, which means he wants to meet God with his real face. Good consistency. Apparently, Old Taylor knows about the bomb they pray to. He calls it the Doomsday Bomb. The apes eventually break into the underground subway system and start killing the quote-unquote advanced humans with normal ass guns. Not very advanced, huh? If they have telekinetic powers, why don't they just use it on the apes? I'd assume it doesn't work on them, but then why are they so utterly defenseless against them? Is it because they're pacifists? Did they just understand they'd just die if they found them? That's dumb for a group of telepathic advanced beings. The Taylors escape from their cage ready to fight back, but an ape finds them and shoots Nova dead. Old Taylor gets really mad and says he wants to kill everyone because the girl he just met a bit ago died. Good character development from the first movie, but like, bruh, why didn't they have a scene like this in that movie? Why didn't they develop him more in the movie or have dialogue that shows it beyond just the weird ass scene I mentioned last video? Really stupid in my opinion. They find the room where the Condom Heads keep the bomb and the last Condom Head alive threatens to set off the nuke. The gorillas kill him right before he presses the last button to set it off. They keep arguing about gods and such, which is supposed to be the theme of this movie, I think. Wars about religion? It's not done well. The fuck ass gorilla leading the army wants to fuck around and find out what a nuke does, even though Dr. Zeus, in his only good moment, knows the bomb will kill all of them. They pull the nuke down and it starts smoking. They try to press a button to stop it, the final button that would set it off, but New Taylor distracts them because he knows what that button will do. Old Taylor's there too, and they shoot him down. He falls onto the ground and he gets to meet Dr. Zeus once more. There's a lot of hostility from him and he goes off about how man is evil and whatnot before the apes finally kill New Taylor. Rest in peace, bro got zero development whatsoever and was just a plot device, despite being the main protagonist of this movie. I'd like to tell you what amazing dialogue ensues beyond this point, but the last few minutes of the movie are dead silent. I don't think it was made that way, but I can't find a version that doesn't just suddenly cut out. So I'll just talk over them. No, my gun is jammed. Oh, I'm dead. New Taylor has died. I'm dying. I will press this bomb button now. Bang, whoosh. Help me. Help, I'm burning. Holy shit, this hurts so much. Help me. Help. Old Taylor presses the button and a white filter covers the screen before it fades to black. The end. Alright, so I'll keep it a buck. That movie was ass. I can say the first movie was probably revolutionary in what it tried to do. It had a concise theme regarding civil rights and racism while also having really good practical effects. It's just slightly dated and doesn't hold up too well to 2024. It just brought some good ideas to the table. All good things that I cannot give this movie. A few of the problems with the movie. The apes suddenly want to invade the Forbidden Zone. There's an underground group of humans that wear condoms on their head and are inherently more advanced than any species that's ever existed on this planet, but never thought to create weapons to defend against the apes that they knew about. The peacefulness of them is a fucking stupid plotline that makes absolutely no sense. Peaceful, yet they make the two Taylors fight each other. Speaking of the two Taylors, I don't like how the new Taylor was introduced, but I really feel like given a good story and good writing, his character could have been fleshed out to be more nuanced. To have different takes on Old Taylor and really shine as an individual. But all I see is protagonist number 2 and Old Taylor is protagonist number 1. And again, Nova is in this movie for no reason. She's just a weird plot device that just stands around for people to ogle at. It's really bad. On top of that, a lot of things are introduced in this movie and then literally thrown away at the end because everything dies. Why would you do that? That is bad. A lot of people kept saying I have to use my imagination for these movies. And okay, sometimes some movies need you to use your imagination to think about things. Like Star Wars. What was Luke's training with Yoda? That's not really important to the plot. What was important was knowing that he was training. That was the good part about using your imagination. Making the watcher of your movie imagine what a plot point means is dumb and bad. This movie was atrocious. From its even worse sci-fi implementations, slow-paced yet faster than the first story, god-awful writing and boring cinematography, they started to create a world but never finished, leading to weird-ass plot lines that either go nowhere or make no sense. I give it a 2 out of 10. It gets a couple of points because at least some of the apes look good as the first movie, and the conversations were sometimes entertaining and fun. Besides that, I'm gonna try to make a third video on the third movie because I have a lot to say about the third movie, and I'll try to make it come out a lot faster. Sorry for the wait if anybody was waiting. I doubt it. See you guys next time. Love you. Bye.
It's a masterpiece, you simple-minded person individual.